Queeter.
Wish you were here, Janine.
Chief Queeter.
Should have been flowing in, Skip. Oh, so anyway, I gotta let you go.
Where'd you get the food?
And anyway, I'll talk to you on Sunday. But we wanted to call, we say hello. Okay?
I got that. Jeff forgot to bring it out, so.
Okay, you got it, Skip. And Idaho, Stanley in particular. Okay. I'm there. Thanks, man. Idaho, Stanley, Idaho.
Where is Stanley?
It's up at by Sun Valley. Right in the middle. Okay. See, that's the
Right above the smile.
Is that by the smile?
You know that Snake River, that whole valley?
Oh,
It looks like a smile.
no. No, you see, I'm not that familiar with that.
For recent Sandy was gone. Sandy's just over shaking her head.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Start the fire.
Start the fire. Yeah, start the fire. Start the fire.
We should pull some chairs out, you guys, you know? There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at his head, though.
Hey,
Well, let's see. Too bright?
here, shift on over there.
You know what? Let me do this. Here,
Somebody else, you want to get in
Marco,
here?
you want to
No, I'm good, thanks.
Oh, really?
Let me cut this one off here.
I may have to run.
Is that better?
You guys want to sit over
Is
there?
I may have to run.
Is that better? Okay.
I can get from here.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Final Tahoe ride, 2012, and parts of its history.
This is it?
This is it.
All right.
Prologue. The Tahoe ride was first attempted and completed by me, Jack Franco, in 1987.
Boo.
I found that.
I thought it was 1887.
It
does say 1887.
No, it is 1887. Look at this. A typo right off the bat. 1887.
That's what I had read.
Right off the bat, I made a
Did you have your glasses on?
Holy
Freudian slip.
You know, I'll edit this. He didn't even pick this up. I'm gonna
Well,
kill
he
him.
was born in 1887.
Then you are one.
That's stupid stuff.
That is funny. I
found a covered wagon route to the Sierras.
It must have been 1887.
What the hell is this?
What?
1987.
What are you looking at, Jack?
I can't hear
What
you.
the hell did I do here?
Come on.
Oh, let's read it.
Just read the goddamn thing. Shit.
I can't.
You forgot already what you read?
What the hell is this? Wow.
Come on, Jack.
This is great.
This is rough.
What the shit? This is not my writing.
Come on.
You printed it.
Cook the bill.
What the
Who the
hell?
hell's writing is it?
Mark!
I may have to run. Careful.
You son of a bitch! That is so cool! Oh my God! I feel like I was going nuts! I started reading this damn thing. I said, "Oh Jesus Christ! What the hell is this?" I found a covered wagon route, a favorite wagon mill of mine, because I never should have
It gets better.
I read something about the destination in my presentation.
That's hilarious.
Last weekend while we were here, I emailed his story off his computer to home, and I've been doctoring it all week.
Well, how did you get it?
Okay, yeah.
Copies. So how much of it did you do before it gets into his?
Just the first 3 pages. It's
First 3 pages?
Yeah.
How did that? Hey, Mark,
How did you get it back to
how did you do it?
I dragged him in here while he was messing around. And stapled each one to the front of his story and laid them back down.
Yeah, you know, here's the. I kind of looked at this and said, "Why is that stapled so weird?"
Jack,
Oh, man,
Jack,
that is so funny.
when you picked it up and brought it over to Rose, I thought for sure you were going to see those
I
staples.
said,
and
you know,
You didn't have your glasses
I
on.
kind of looked at it a little bit. I said, "That's kind of a little weird," but you busted me. You
Oh
so.
my God.
Read the first 3 pages out loud for us.
Okay, that's so funny, man. It wasn't you, at least.
I'm the angel in the family.
Okay.
Well, you know, I had seen 1887, and when you said 1987,
I says, what the hell's the matter with Al, for Christ's sake? I mean...
Al!
Al's the one who gave it to us.
Great, man.
Oh, man, that is a... And not only that, but the...
Mark, you
the
told
lady
that Al
Peter
said it to
along
us.
here, too, I think.
I would have hated Al forever.
For this,
Only a fireman would think of some way to just spoof things.
How did you do that?
That's what I did, spoof. That's why I named
Did
it.
you grab a copy of... How did you get it?
Yeah.
Last weekend while we were here, that day that you showed me on the computer, so I saw the name.
Yeah.
And last weekend while you were occupied, I emailed it to myself.
Oh, for crying out loud.
You got to read the first 3 pages, Jack.
Okay, the first 3 pages are this.
It was a cyber crime.
It's a cyber
No wonder you wanted you to read it.
Maybe you should read the first 3 pages.
Maybe. I don't know if I can make it through it. Larry wants to read the first 3 pages.
No,
We're
all
never
of
going
them
to
are
get through this unless we get started,
They're
man.
all the same? Yeah. They all got the same thing.
You kept saying you were going to get
So
us.
Jack-
Like, yeah, all right, buddy. Bring
Jack,
it
you want Larry to read the first 3 pages?
You want Larry to read the first 3 pages?
Oh,
Yeah.
here's the real story.
Right.
Yes.
Larry read the
Larry can
first 3
read the
pages.
first.
Go for it, Larry.
Here we go.
Okay.
Go for it.
You can read it off of that?
There goes.
Okay.
Let's see here.
Okay.
Prologue. The Tahoe ride was first attempted and completed by me, Jack Franco, in 1887. I found a covered wagon route to the Sierras the prior year by going through Coulterville and then on to Yosemite, California. I was so intrigued desecrating the Sierras that I roughly mapped out a way to Lake Tahoe, a favorite landfill of mine.
I saw that. I said, that can't be.
Because I never intended to do the Tahoe ride with others, as I figured no one would want to ride with me. I also never believed that this trip would have developed through the years as it did. With the help of other riders, we were able to come up with several routes, including going over the Sonora Pass. Here I am, 125 years later, and almost 175 years old, celebrating the ride's merciful termination. More so, I'm doing it with 8 suckers who are barely able to tolerate 3 days with me. This final journey will proudly include my youngest daughter, Janine, whom I never thought was really my biological daughter.
And her unparalleled riding ability confirmed it.
Oh, that's good. Oh, this is funny.
And an awesome 4-member support team that volunteered their time to help all the riders. We even had a professional out-call massage therapist at our disposal. Wow, what a great way to go.
Great way to go out.
Oh, yeah, go out. In the beginning years, I would start preparations by applying Preparation H. Supplied by Al Drackney for more years than I can remember. I would then fill it generously with peanut butter. Paul, go.
Just about any other sticky substance that I could find. In addition, I carried my sleeping bag, sleeping mat, tent, and 3 dresses.
Oh my.
I was most certain to be as thorough as possible in this pre-ride prep, as there were no cell phones, in addition to having no friends. Thus leaving myself completely vulnerable to a molestation. Needless to say, it was very exciting. Sadly, I learned a hard lesson on both the Yosemite and first Tahoe trip. In those days, there wasn't too much information available for this kind of riding. Thus, I didn't know the ramifications of drinking too much water for the kind of task my body had to endure. Both years, I was plagued with pants wetting. That stopped me dead in my tracks. Fortunately, the old man at Ham Station would wash my riding charge for small sexual favors. This was my idea of having fun. I had to learn how to ride Tahoe smart. I had to drink plenty of fluid and take enough nutrients so as to need my shorts cleaned every day. I gotta tell you, that old man and I had many memorable evenings. In September 1987, I made my way to Tahoe the first day and stayed at Comanche Lake Reservoir, where I camped out semi-nude. The second day, I trekked to Jackson without any clothes at all. The third day, I ended my all-day journey in South Lake Tahoe and was promptly arrested for indecent exposure. I was totally ecstatic and became hooked on the ride from that time on. The following year, in 1988, I took my first traveler, Johnny C. Holmes. We not only followed much the same route that this final trip endured, but we decided to get married in South Lake Tahoe as well. Those were the best years. We decided to ride home and it hit 104 degrees with strong 30 to 50 mile per hour headwinds, pushing us back, going through Copperopolis on our way to the dusty little city of Escalon. We both were sunburnt to a crisp because we foolishly rode the whole trip without any clothes. Getting totally exhausted, we spent the second night in a dingy, flea-bitten hotel, and we had sex all night. We were so salt-depleted, and all Johnny and I could eat that night was 2 huge bags of pastry and a ton of water. When we arrived back in a familiar civilization, 400 plus miles in 51 days.
51 days. Took a little while to make this, didn't it?
Johnny swore off the ride forever, and I vowed never to ride back home again from Tahoe. Both vows were honored to this day, but I continued to pretend to ride up to Tahoe every year that I could. The first group sex ride I did was in 1991. The four of us took the same basic route I had taken several years before, including a great stop at Ham Station. I never had so much sex the night Johnny, Fernando, and I camped at Comanche Lake.
Remember Fernando?
Bob fell hard for the old man at Ham Station, and we never did see him for the rest of the ride. He completely understood what happened to him. Besides, Johnny, that old man was the best lover I ever had.
No mercy. Rose, no mercy.
During these past 25 years, I have had some interesting mishaps. In 1991, after just climbing to the top of the Silver Lake summit, 8,000 feet elevation, I got the third out of 3 closely timed flat tires. I must have been using those old condom inner tube for peak performance. I was so frustrated I threw my sleeping bag off my bike car and it rolled over a cliff. Without thinking, I jumped over the cliff to retrieve it. Well, it slid 40 feet down.
Remember this earlier?
Yes. Yeah. Well, it slid 40 feet down on my butt before both my ass and favorite plug to shreds.
Favorite plug. That's a merciless.
Oh, I did get the sleeping bag okay, and I couldn't get back up. I was stuck. Luckily, a concerned trucker saw my bike lying on the side of the road and thought something terrible happened to the